Hey guys, I hope you guys enjoyed your snow day. I know there wasn't a whole lot of snow, but I hope you guys had some good rest and relaxation. Today, I'm sad I'm not able to be there, but I will be back on Thursday, and I will be checking Canvas throughout the day. So if you have any questions or any comments, I'll have a link on this assignment right up under here where you can drop some questions if you have any. But today you're going to be comparing two texts. You're doing this so that you can see how they're alike and different, which will help you to determine what you're going to be learning from them. And then you're going to know you have it today because you will have compared and contrasted the two texts using a Venn diagram. So your two texts you're going to be using today, one is on the Oregon Trail, westward expansion, and the second one is also on the Oregon Trail. So you're going to be looking through these two texts to determine what's the same, what's different, and your organizer will be down here. I'm going to model using two different texts, and I'm going to show you guys how I would then fill out my organizer down there at the bottom. So today I'm going to be reading to you guys about the Alamo. So we all know that the very, very first step when we're looking at nonfiction text or any text really is just to read. So I'm going to go ahead and read the first text and kind of see what I've learned from it, kind of see how it's laid out, and then I'm going to go ahead and look at the second text. So the first text is Westward Expansion, the Story of the Alamo. There's an image of the Alamo right there. It says a drawing of the Alamo mission in 1854. So in the 1820s and 30s, many Americans moved to Texas from the southern United States. The territory officially belonged to Mexico, but the land was open to settlers. The settlers had governed themselves for about 15 years when the Mexican government realized that Americans outnumbered Mexicans in Texas. The Mexican government became worried that the U.S. would take Texas. Mexico decided to push the settlers back to the United States. The settlers refused to leave. Mexican General Santa Anna marched into Texas with many troops. He crossed the Rio Grande and approached San Antonio. Here the Texans were awaiting attack. The Texans used the Alamo as a fort. Originally, it was a mission used for religious reasons. The man in command of the Texans was William Barrett Travis. He sent appeal after appeal to the U.S. government for backup. No one answered. The Texans knew that they were outnumbered 10-1. Still, they decided to defend themselves to the death. From February 23, 1836 to Sunday, March 6, 1836, the settlers waited. On March 6, Santa Anna stormed the walls of the Alamo. The Texans fought until death, even after hours of arm-to-arm combat. Remember the Alamo. Revenge. So here's another subheading. On April 12, 1836, a new Texan army under Sam Houston fought and defeated Santa Anna. These men were fighting for the rights of themselves and their families to live in Texas. They were also fighting for revenge. When Sam Houston led his men into battle, they rallied his men by shouting, "Remember the Alamo!" When Houston won, Texas became the Lone Star Republic. Did you know that Texas was the only U.S. state to be its own country? In 1845, Texas asked to be a part of the United States. The republic was annexed by the U.S. government and became the Lone Star State. Okay, so the very first thing I noticed is that it's about the Alamo, and it kind of sounds like a lot of Americans had moved to Texas, and at the time, most of this territory belonged to Mexico. Well, the Mexican government was kind of getting upset by this, and they really kind of wanted to push the Americans out, so they showed up into this space that was Texas, and they were going to kick all of the Americans that had settled there out. Well, the people that had settled there decided that they were going to fight to defend the land that they felt like was theirs, and they did. And it says that the Texans were outnumbered 10-1. So it sounds like that a lot of soldiers showed up to push them out. So the second text, Time Machine 1836, The Battle of the Alamo. It gives me a little note here. It says the article originally appeared in a March 24, 1836 edition of the Telegraph and Texas Register, published in San Felipe, Texas. So it was the first article in print about the fall of the Alamo and is considered to be the most influential account of the battle. The Battle of the Alamo was part of the Texas Revolution, when English-speaking settlers called Texans in northern Mexico, which is now Texas, rebelled against the Mexican government. In the Battle of the Alamo, the Texans were beat badly by the Mexican army, but it inspired other Texans to join the revolution. So, just a little side note there, and I suppose the real text begins here, where it's not italicized. So it says, this event is so sad and yet so special to Texas. It is such deep interest and feeling that we shall never stop celebrating it. We wish we knew the names of those who died in the fort. We would print them to make people remember forever our heroes who perished. We should learn from each such examples. The list of names below was given by Mr. John W. Smith and Mr. Navin. As we get more, we will print them. At dawn, the enemy surrounded the fort with their soldiers. Their soldiers on horseback prevented an escape. The number consisted of 4,000 against 140. General Santa Anna was commanding them, along with 4 generals and many weapons. Our men were very tired from both fake and real attacks, but American courage and American love of freedom were very clear. Twice the enemy put their ladders on the walls. Twice they failed. Our men were determined to make the victory worse to the enemy than a defeat. Honors to our brave guard at the Alamo. There was a pause after the second attack. Then they poured over the walls like sheep. Our men did not have time to load their guns and rifles. Instead, they used the ends of the rifles to fight. They fought until life ran out through their numberless wounds, and the enemy had conquered the fort. Total extermination succeeded. The darkness of death occupied the unforgettable Alamo. We envy not the feelings of the victors. They must have not been proud. Who would not be rather one of the dead Alamo heroes than of the living, but merciless victors? Spirit of the brave, though fallen, honors and rest are with you. Your spark of greatness shall brighten into a flame. Texas and the whole world shall worship you like gods. They will copy your actions. Okay, so I'm going to pause there. I could go ahead and read on, but I already noticed some different things about the 2 passages. So both of them have very similar information, and as you do yours, you'll probably run into that same thing. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on my assignment. It says, use the Venn diagram below to compare and contrast 2 nonfiction books or articles on the same topic. How are they the same and how are they different? Think about the illustrations, pictures, descriptions, or information in each book. So it says on the page in the book, we're not using a book, so we're not going to quote that one, but we could say in Article 1, blank, in Article 2, blank. The difference between blank and blank is blank. What's the same about these 2? And unlike the first article, the second book has this, or unlike the second book, the first one has this. So here are some prompts you can use, and you should use some of these. You could even copy and paste this and fill in the blanks. So in fact, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys down here how I would right-click to open in a new tab so that I can go back and forth between the 2. All right, so here you're going to want to put the name of text 1. I'm not going to type in this because if I do, it'll make whatever you guys see on your computer screen the same, and that was super confusing last time, so I'm not going to type, but you will. So the first one is Westward Expansion, the Oregon Trail, so I would type that right here. The second text, for me, your first text is the Oregon Trail. Your second text is Time Machine. So those will be your 2. My 2 are about the Alamo, so I would put those here. But I'm actually going to go ahead and fill in yours so you know that you're doing yours on the Oregon Trail. And then Time Machine. Okay, so now that that's in, my 2 are on the Alamo. So the very first thing I noticed is that there were definitely some differences between the 2 texts, especially who was telling the text. So I would go ahead and type that here. So the difference between the first text and the second text is that who was telling it was different. In the first text, it was being told by like a narrator, so somebody who had written it today and they were reflecting back upon that time. The second text was actually pulled from a newspaper that was written back during that time. So it was almost like a first-hand account of somebody that had really been there, or at least close to those events. So that was one thing that was different, I noticed. The second thing that was different is that the second text was much more specific. So that would be another thing I would plug in here. The difference between the first text on the Alamo and the second text on the Alamo was that they were more specific. There were more details in that. So I'm not going to fill this out any further, but I want you to make sure that when you do this, you're doing this for comparing text. You're doing it for the first part, the Oregon Trail. The second part is the time machine on the Oregon Trail from Newsela. And then you're completing this organizer. You can use these prompts. You can copy and paste a different prompt if you'd like, but please make sure that you're doing it for these two texts. So today, friends, you're going to make sure that you're comparing two texts. You're doing this so you can see how they're alike and different. You're going to know you have it today because you will have compared the two texts. So just make sure that you get this done today, because tomorrow we're really going to dig deep into these texts and really begin to analyze them. So I hope you guys have a good day. Good luck on your assignment, and I look forward to seeing what you guys have learned.